Well, my very dear Capricorn, as I was sitting to get ready to do your reading for the week of September 8th, or whenever it resonates, I was waiting for an image to come to me. And all of a sudden I realized the feeling I was having was the image, and the feeling was sitting down and getting it done, which is not normally the way I feel about doing a reading. And so as I tuned into that, it was literally like I was seeing you sitting there looking at stuff. When outside your window or outside your wall, there was a beautiful meadow. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to take you by the ear, Capricorn, just very gently pull you out and go, look, there's this beautiful outdoor life. You don't have to be stuck indoors in what felt like a very gray building, almost like I would imagine some of the old, concrete high schools. That sense of sitting there at your desk and figuring things out and getting things done and just doing what needs to be done. There is a part of you, Capricorn, that is ready for something more. There is a part of you, and at least for part of the collective, because of course it won't be for everybody, some of you have already started getting a real, almost like wanderlust, yeah, okay, that's fine and it's good, but there's got to be more. And that is the reality. There is more. And there's got to be more. And for many of you, there has got to be more, because you're done with just having it be what it is. And so then I started pulling the cards, and the cards, pleasure and take a break. And that is the feeling. It's taking a break, but it's not just taking a break from work. It's taking a break from feeling as though you got to be perfect. You got to have it all figured out. You got to know what you're doing. You've got to continue on the way you've been continuing. It's take a break from trying to make yourself more intelligent, especially more intelligent, more productive, more serious, more dedicated, because all of those adjectives that I've used come with a certain quality of constriction. The pleasure card is the first one that you get, and it goes along with me wanting to take you by the ear out into the meadow, because the thing is, you're not out into the meadow and the desk is gone. The office or the school is still there, the desk is still there, the work is still there. It's not like you're abandoning your life. Pleasure is often considered to be frivolous. We've been taught both overtly and covertly that it will lead us to base desires away from God and goodness, that it will make us selfish and greedy, lazy and lustful. Have you ever noticed when you work with heartfelt pleasure how much more productive you are? That when pleasure reaches your heart in any kind of loving way, you're kinder in your loving, more generous and more easily satisfied? Heartfelt pleasure can guide us to acts of kindness and gratitude, open us to greater depths of nourishing desires, compassion, and grace. And it makes us more productive. Whenever we're doing something with a pleasurable attitude, the energy is higher, the vibration is there, you're more inclined to be intuitive, to be just naturally, organically creative with what you're doing. So you're Capricorn, you're really being asked to bring more of this into your life and see how it's going to enhance those parts of you that you already really like. Really, it's about exploring another side of emotions that are about freedom and a joyful way of being. Being able to work, do whatever you want to do with using kind of like, if you think of it as a palette of color, instead of just using this, now you're being encouraged to use all of it so that you can bring it all in together and mix it into whatever you want. So it's really about, in some ways, taking down a wall in your mind that you may not even identify as a wall. But what if you were to stop and say, what if magic were real? What if magic were real? What if all those fantasy things are actually just an aspect of living life in a different way, from a different approach in my head, and I didn't know that? And then you get the mind card, okay? The mind is not only the tool with which we interpret the world around us. The mind is a great cosmic cookie cutter which manifests our world according to its shape and the ingredients we put into it. You know, this idea of an expanded vision, an expanded view beyond who we thought ourselves to be, seems to be coming up for a lot of signs. It seems to be a time of opportunity for people to really step outside of a familiar comfort zone with more comfort, being able to look at the slight trepidation that you might have about being different or trying something new with much less concern and much less fear and more of a sense of excitement and possibility. And that's what I feel for you, Capricorns. I feel like this is really you being you being able to, okay, so you've got pleasure and you've got humor. So humor, of course, is, you know, its highest form is kindly, not sarcastic. It has a generous quality, able to see absurdities, incongruities, and paradoxes with a light heart, ready to find mirth and fun in them. Because it's gentle, it helps us see the truth behind things that might otherwise create defensiveness. Look for the humor in situations. Take a light attitude towards everything you see today, especially if it's contentious. You also have the intuition card, which says, think of the world around you, energy, people, places, things, as being in conversation with you. Be on the lookout for messages and synchronicities. Expect them to happen. Acknowledge anything that might be a message and act as though they're real. Say thank you. So this really is telling you to expand your vision of what's possible. That idea of what if magic were real, and leaning into the identification of a more okay, so who says why not? Who says so? This is really asking you to look at what limitations you have in any area of your life. And I want to add something here in regards to limitations, because sometimes we don't know we have them. So this is an exercise that that Spirit dropped into my head. And it is this. If you imagine any situation where you have experienced disappointment, let's say a romantic relationship, and now you're saying, yes, I'm ready for a new romantic relationship. I'm ready to look for, I'm ready to let that into my life. Can you track your thoughts to the point where you actually, in your imagination, meet someone? And track that scene in your mind and that energy in your mind until it stops. Can you notice where it stops? Have you actually freed your mind enough so that you can gone beyond that? Or do you get to a point where it feels fine, it feels real, it feels possible, you're with somebody, it's a lovely relationship, but it doesn't go past that? Can you, in your heart of hearts and in your imagination, take it to the point where can you actually imagine what a positive, wonderful, loving relationship would look like? And can you feel that? Can you feel that as a possibility? Now, I'm using that because this is so very often what people are looking for, and where people have experienced a lot of disappointment, betrayal, because personal romantic relationships, they're the PhD of spirituality. It's such a vulnerable place to be that's very often where we will experience a replay of our wounds and our restrictions. But it can be around your education, your ability to understand something, a work situation. We all have limits. We don't always realize they're there. So it's really finding where where that has been a barrier now and turning it into a boundary. A barrier is a hard wall. A boundary is negotiable. So if you come across a part, and this is now something Spirit is telling me, if you come across a part of that vision where you are, where you reach that point and you go, no, I really can't imagine it beyond that point. What I imagine beyond that point, if I let myself, is the feeling of disappointment that it's not going to last. Oh, okay. Now you have identified an energy now that is holding that possibility from happening. It's literally like it's an energetic barrier against moving that forward. So now you get to look at that and go, okay, well, that was a wall I didn't know I had. How can I soften that and turn it into a boundary? Well, Spirit, how can they? Well, they can, okay, you can do that by starting to ask questions. Thank you, because questions open energy up. When you start asking questions, the answers automatically come. In fact, I remember one teacher saying, I think I read it somewhere actually, was that the answers are already there. They're waiting for us to come up with the right question to let it in. So then, what's the right question? Well, it can be anything. It can be, what do I need to do now in order to change my attitude? It can be, what is an underlying thing that is stopping this? It can be, if I could imagine what it would be like, what might it be? It might be, what is a relationship I've seen that I would like to experience? And can I imagine myself in that scenario, only with the person that's for me and not their person? So it can be any of those things, just to get the wall of energy that's stopping that from flowing to move forward. So Capricorn, I'm going to leave you with that right now. There's actually quite a lot of very specific information here for you, and I really hope you go over it and listen to it, because I think it's going to be really valuable. Take care, my dear Cappies.